Sure, Councilman Adams.
Okay. And thank you all for coming tonight. I think we need to know a little history as to why we're here. The last rate increase we did was, I think, in 2009. And that rate, pardon me? Seven. That rate increase sustained us until today. It enabled us to build up great reserves, to do the job that we need to do, replace and repair as we could, until the state made us adhere to a drought mandate for 2 years. The city of Riverside was not in a drought. It was a farce. But for 2 years, we had a reduction in service, and you all suffered by stop watering your lawns and many other things that you all did and sacrificed to help this city meet the demand by the state to cut our use by 30% for 2 years. So we had somewhere between a 45 and 60% reduction in revenue into the utility. After that was over, and we started getting conversations about rate increases, I want to give you a little history of that. We had 2 open meetings with the board and with the council. And in the first open meeting, I asked what was the organic recovery of use by the citizens of water, in particular, since they dropped the drought mandate. And I was told it was 0.1.25%. That was an absolute lie. We had returned to where we were before the drought was ordered, drought suspended. So it's up over 15%. In other words, our revenues are back to where they were before we had to meet the mandate by the state of California. When I first came back, I was given a briefing by the then head of public utilities to tell me that what their plan was is to emulate the Renaissance and completely rebuild our utility in a 5-year period like we did the Renaissance. And I said, that is absolutely impossible and unsustainable. And they wanted to do it, like I said, in 5 years. Over my objection, a couple days later, they said, no, we can make it 7 years. We still couldn't do that because the rates they wanted, I forget where they started, but they've come down dramatically. Then they said, well, we can do it in 10 years. Well, the reality is we'll never be done rebuilding, improving, repairing, and modernizing the infrastructure for the delivery of water. The city manager also told me that he had given the former city manager, the former general manager of the utility, an order to ask for the stars, and this is an exact quote, the moon and the sky, so that we can raise these rates, fluff up, and this is the term used, fluff up the utility and our reserves so he could sell it. He had never contacted the council regarding this, and he never contacted the board regarding this. This was something he wanted done because he thought he could sell at least the electric part of the utility. In that meeting, and in 3 subsequent meetings where I was contacted to be given what they told me was going to be the correct numbers on what our situation was in the utility and why we needed to do a rate increase, in all 3 meetings, I was given bogus numbers. I have a witness, Councilman Condor. In fact, I wouldn't do the meeting without a witness, also my assistant, Sandy. Each time they said, you know what, we need to go back and recheck and we'll get you the correct numbers. So, after being repeatedly misled by false numbers, knowing the pretense that the former city manager and city general manager of the utility was working under, I believe it would be inappropriate and irresponsible to continue any talks on rate increases until 3 conditions are met. First one, the new city manager is in place and given the opportunity to get his legs under him and get brought up to date on what's going on. Second, a new general manager for the utility is hired until he or she is able to get caught up and brought up to date with what's going on. Third, an independent audit of this utility. There have been a brief audit where we find things. I want an independent audit that reports back to this council and brings that report back to the city council and the city manager simultaneously so it's unedited. Then and only then can we look at the real facts as to whether there's a necessity to raise the rates on the people. Further, I would like to suspend the summer rate and Tier 4 until that audit is done. We've discovered that when you raise the rates, people use it less. Less revenue comes in. If we lower the rates or keep them where we're at, more use happens. We've already seen that. So I'm making the motion now that we suspend all talks on a rate increase until those three conditions are met, that we suspend the summer rate, and that we suspend Tier 4 until we get the audit back, until we have the other conditions met, and then and only then would we be responsible in either asking for or passing on a rate increase.